I still can't comprehend what happened to me yesterday. At the time, I felt like laughing than analyzing the situation, but if I had, I bet I would have been rethinking this in heaven or wherever upstairs state I deserve to be. It happened when I was taking a trip to my car after a pressure gym out with some of my friends. We always parked our cars at the front of a building because parking them inside the underground parking of the building was just adding cost to the already high membership fee. Plus, with the guards on the gate of the building, we couldn't see anything that could happen to our cars or us. I think that was before we met the guy who changed all our perspectives. Our workout was intense and the instructor made sure we didn't waste a penny from what we spent for the gym. I always had this bulky, non-muscular type of body. Adding this session, I entered because of the non-stop nagging of my friends is adding layers to my muscles. A little more time and I will be looking like a WWE wrestler. I might always joke about my body with my friends, but yesterday was the first time that I saw that it could bring up some insanely hilarious traits, though at some point it stopped being funny. I mean, it's up to the audience, but if anyone thinks my almost death was funny, then they must be a sadist or one of those people in history who read books and drank coffee while Rome is burning. Even if these people existed though, they just couldn't be as weird as my intruder. My intruder confronted me when I reached my car after working out. He looks like in his mid-40s. I thought he was one of the airy professors we all had at least once in our school days, though I didn't know why he was approaching me. I was ready to throw something if he had ended up being one of those restless promoters of the recent startup real estate company nearby, but instead he ended up being one of those awry scientists in movies who always ruin things for the hero and then everything for themselves. The first thing he said to me was, "Can you punch?" I wasn't even 100% sure if I should reply or just enter my car and drive away, but I replied, "Excuse me? Can you kick asses and break some limbs?" He was more serious this time and had asked with a deep frown that generated my answer, "Anybody can, given the rage." My friends didn't interfere yet, but were in scope of hearing us. Things got internationally weird when he said, "Okay, so now you do what I tell you to do. I need you to punch me." Punch you? Okay, so I understand that most people find it hard to make friends, but I bet earning enemies who would always be glad to send you some punches with some roses is not as hard. Doesn't this guy have enemies? Was my thought. But the look on my friends' faces, who were now in the conversation zone, says, the guy is looking to make enemies in no time. "What did you say?" One of my quick-tempered friends asked Mr. I need a punch. "Oh, there are more of you. Now rain on me, guys. Shower me with your fists." The guy clearly didn't get the message all 6 angry faces were sending, so he went on. "What makes you think you're in a place to ask us to serve you in any way you seek?" I muffled my chuckle. Though seriously, this man's ego was on a whole nother level. I believed it was enough time waste engaging in a useless conversation, so I told my friends to stop and I turned around in my car. Then, just 3 seconds later, I was angry as hell that I was willing to give him the punches he wanted and then some more. I was also tempted to practice some of the new learned moves on the guards because they were finally over when the man went all Hulk and broke the mirror of my car with a punch to it. That's how you do it? Is it so hard to break a single nose? Why is it so funny that the question sounds so sincere? This guy's so entitled that he believes if something is in your range of capabilities, then there's nothing else stopping you from doing it. The guards who finally got the hint and came over to try to get him away without any further harm or him on anything else. Do you think he's in a legal mental status that he could own an insurance? The thinker of my friends brought an idea to light. But all I was thinking about was giving this guy what he wanted and punch him to the alternate universe, hopefully where he's less entitled. Do you want to get fisted, huh? Then fisted you'll get. I never threw a punch like I intended though, thanks to the guards who weren't even able to get the guy away from me. My failed attempt and constant nagging of the guards made our male Karen furious, and so he took the situation into a new level where even my friends would prefer to back up from. 1 and 2 times the man shot the gun he had extracted from his back. Now, is someone going to punch more or do I have to kill some before that? That was when things got serious and the funny part ceased. At this point, I didn't mind doing what he wanted, but then getting close to him on its own is a threat. I mean, he was holding a gun and he had shot it 2 times already. The guards are now taking out their own guns and ordering him to put us down, except he had no such plan. He advertised the gun at the faces of the guards, holding them at gunpoint. I don't even know why anybody didn't try to stop him by taking the gun carefully out of his hands, but I guess it was just so scary. I am not asking for ducking money from any of you, even though you should be kind enough to give it to me. Why can't you do the simplest thing I've asked? The high-rated voice of the man could be heard to the whole building. We were silent as he told us things we're not even supposed to do are our obligations now just because he said so. This is my body, my face. I can do whatever I want with it. You guys don't need to care. That is none of your business. Just come and throw some punches. He gestured us to him. Poor little thing thought that we weren't punching him out of sympathy, but this has gone to a whole nother level. I was thinking, did he know someone I know? Does he have a grudge on someone I know? Is he going to sue me after I punch him and get to them through me? People, you don't understand that my mind was in a whirlwind. Bruh, you gotta stop or we're gonna call the police otherwise, one of my friends who was now held at gunpoint pleaded. We'll see about that. You selfish, greedy people won't even volunteer to give a man what he wants. You always think about yourselves and what you gain from it before you do anything. You think you have authority over the other's body. Saying that, he went away from us, and when I think it was over, he gets into the road where vehicles were going down and he just stands in the middle with his hands outstretched and kept shouting, "See, I can do whatever I want with my body. I can even get it crushed." I had the urge to laugh then because this guy was going overboard and overreacting, but then again a car was coming at a high speed at him, and from what I can see the man wasn't so focused on driving. For the sake of not witnessing a tragedy, I quickly went to the road, pushed the guy to the other side with all my might, because it would have been a worse scenario if I pushed him and he landed halfway through the end. I can't even imagine how both of us would have died. At the process, his gun accidentally shot 3 times in several directions. I couldn't even catch my breath when I angrily rained on him after that. I took the gun carefully but forcefully out of his hands and threw it a bit far ahead of us. I have never touched a gun before, and now I'm dealing with this guy. Can anyone believe that? I started to punch him on the face without even thinking, but he stopped me and said, "Wait, don't punch on one place. I want it here, 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 and here." He pointed at several parts of his body excitedly, and I woke up out of my trance. Just for the sake of good measures, I threw one punch really hard, dead middle in his face, and stood up. The people who were watching were obviously taking me as the bad guy here. I was getting all kinds of dirty looks as I returned to the other side. A woman in her 80s even spat at my feet and went away with quick legs. Later, the police was called and the guy was carried to a mental institution. When I think about it now, I'm even surprised he's never been there before. If I'm not overreacting, he certainly qualifies as an entitled lunatic. Next story. Since I was 7 years old, a grown woman who had a daughter in my grade has been causing problems for me. She told my mother that I tried to kill her cat. I'd never been to her house, nor did I know her daughter. She made up that I was bullying a girl in 2nd grade when both me and the girl were supposedly bullying both, said that we didn't know each other. But I was still punished because she's an adult and convinced them that I was some sort of evil mastermind who bullied the kid into siding with me. I was 7 years old. In 4th grade, she got my backpack searched for leaving drawings on my desk for my twin brother to see when we would switch classes. This went on for years, and one of my teachers even had to ban her from being alone with me. It wasn't until a few years later that my parents realized that I was right. For another thing, she would constantly try and talk to me. I was raised to respect adults, so I would always respond, until my parents recommended that I don't speak to her at all. I hadn't seen her in a while though because of the pandemic. My parents now also strongly dislike them, so I don't hide my dislike for her. Now on to the confrontation. My friend and I were walking in her neighborhood where they also live. We saw them when we were walking and I fully planned on just ignoring them. However, when she saw me, she tried talking with us. I told my friend to just keep walking because I really didn't feel like dealing with her and whatever condescending things she would say to me. My friend agreed and we pulled out our phones to try and seem busy. Instead of taking the hint, she switched sides of the path and got in our way with her husband and daughter to say hello. I really didn't want to see her, so I kept my head down and moved around her with my friend. She told me it was rude to ignore an adult who was speaking to me, but I took my friend and just kept walking. She then turned around and started yelling at me, but I told my friend to just start running to get out of the view. The story was relatively calm compared to some of these, but it really irked me. My biggest concern is that this grown-ass lady seems way too invested in you. I don't know how old you are, but if you're still living at home, I would consider mentioning to your parents that she approached you again. There's no reason for her to be bothering you, and her focus on you is weird at best. Be safe. How about pulling out your phone and recording any and all interactions with her? If she says it's rude not to talk to a grown-up, respond with, "My parents have told me not to speak to you," then say nothing else. If she won't leave you alone, narrate out loud for your phone, "I'm trying to stay away from this woman, Karen, on my parents' orders, but she won't leave me alone. My parents have ordered me not to speak to Karen, but this woman won't leave me alone." If you end up having to call the police, wait until she's mouthed off to them, and then inform you have a recording on your phone of her bothering you. Yes, this woman is seriously deranged. I don't understand either the obsession she has with this child. Is her daughter making up stories or lies about you? That's the only thing that makes sense to me. I've never heard of a female stalking a feminist child unless it was sexually motivated. That doesn't seem to be the case here. She definitely is crazy, and in my book, crazy is dangerous. Good luck, OP. I hope you never have to cross paths with her again. Next story. My aunt had called my mother to ask me, 15M at the time, to ask me to help my cousin 12F with her math homework. She was struggling in math at the time while I was a year ahead. She put my cousin on the phone and she told me what she was having trouble with. What it was, I don't remember, and I told her, "Oh, that's easy," in what I thought was a cheerful tone, knowing that I'd be able to explain the subject to her pretty easily. I helped her with her homework, not giving her any answers, obviously, but guiding her through the process. And all went well during the call until she didn't need my help anymore and I gave the phone back to my mom. From there, I received the story secondhand. So the details aren't really clear, but according to my mom, my aunt called her later to tell her that by claiming that the subject was easy, I had implied that my cousin was stupid. My mom vehemently denied this, knowing A, that I would never call my cousin stupid, and B, that what I had said wasn't meant maliciously and that it was more intended as encouragement to my cousin. Nevertheless, my aunt didn't believe her, though she didn't explicitly say so. This, along with a few other instances, caused the deterioration of the relationship between my mom and her sister, to the point where they stopped actively communicating except rarely on birthdays. Neither of them even sent a text to each other to wish them a Merry Christmas this last year, at least that I'm aware of. If you want to hear more about my aunt, let me know and I'll post more stories. I know it's not as exciting as some of the others on the sub, but I just felt like sharing. This could boil down to a communication style issue. I still remember a college course on linguistics and we covered direct versus indirect styles. One example stuck with me. A direct style husband asked his wife if she really wanted to go to the event tonight, and her indirect style led her to believe that he was saying he didn't. They didn't go and neither was happy and both believed they were ceding to the other. I could easily see an indirect communication style using "this is easy" as an insult, an indirect way of saying you're a moron for not getting this. Not saying that's what happened, just it echoes in my mind as a possibility. To be honest, sounds like your aunt is one of those that want to compare their kids to everyone around them and make them the best, my aunt is kind of the same. Shit's annoying. Your mom knows you're much better than you, so she probably has a good enough reason not to talk to her. And that incident was probably just used as a starting point, nothing to fret over. There's gonna be hundreds of such people everywhere. Next story. A little context. My mother, 64, is a narcissist, and I've been 36 in low contact since moving out 3 years ago. But my sister, 39, still lives with her along with my maternal grandmother, 87. Both my mother and grandmother tested positive for COVID-19 last week, but my sister was negative and has been self-isolating in her room. Everyone is fully vaccinated with booster shots. Yesterday was the 16th birthday of a paternal cousin. My aunt threw a dinner party in her large garden, an open space with the table spread apart, and my sister asked for a ride there. Since she asked nicely, I said, okay, I'll pick you up by 7 o'clock. Everything went according to plan. I picked her up, we went to dinner, then I dropped her home after and went home, took a good long shower, and put all the clothing I've used in the washing machine. So far, so good. Until this morning. My mom called me pissed, asking, what time did you come here yesterday? I've said I didn't go up to her apartment since I have a flight coming up and can't risk contact with someone who tested positive. Angrily, she said, alright then, bye, and thought she'd hung up. But I could still complain to her mother that I was a bad son, that she must be a terrible mother, that her children hate her, yada yada. Her usual spiel of a wronged mother. Use their narcissism against them. I did this for you. Mom, I know how bad you feel if anything bad happened to me if I got COVID from you, long COVID, or God forbid dying. I want to do whatever I can to not put that on you, so I didn't stop in. I wouldn't want you to feel guilty and have to take care of me if I couldn't work because I got COVID from you. I hope you get well soon. Even though you did nothing wrong, and you have to know that narcissists never let you get away with thinking about yourself, and the reason she continued to have a conversation about it was because she knew you were still on the phone and expected you to profusely express that she was the most wonderful mother on the planet to satisfy her ego. I personally wish we could get all the narcissistic people in the world together in a stadium, but we probably couldn't televise the carnage that ensued.